This excerpt was taken from a full and bloom interview with guitarist Andy La Rocque. To listen to the entire interview, click the link in the description. If you'd like to be notified as new interviews and excerpts are uploaded, hit the subscribe button and click the bell. Now, I want to make sure that I got this right, that you and Mikkey Dee were in a band, and even prior to that, you were friends. But before you joined King Diamond, you guys are in a band together and friends as well?
Yeah, we were friends. From the beginning, we were kind of we played in competitive bands in the very early 80s. And we got friends, and we played together for a very short while. We just jammed out and tried out things for a short while. And then Mikkey moved down to Copenhagen, Denmark, with another Swedish guys, actually. And he was down there for about a year. And then he got to know the Mercyful Fate guys. And then when Mercyful Fate kind of broke up and King started his own thing, Mikkey was asked to join the band. And at that time, it was Michael Denner, Timi Hansen, Mikkey Dee, and King. And they also had another Swedish guitarist. That did not really work out in the studio the way they wished for. So after being in the studio for about 2 weeks, Mikkey called me and said, "Hey, Andy, you really got to come down here." And that this week is exactly 36 years ago.
That's incredible, man.
Yeah, it was around Swedish Midsummer, which is end of June every year. So he called me day after Midsummer and he asked me to come down to Copenhagen. And I said, "Oh, it sounds cool, man. I'll just quit my job and get my amp and my guitar, and I'll be down there tomorrow." I took the train down from Gothenburg down to Copenhagen with my guitar and my amp, and went into the studio, said hi to the guys, and they asked me to do an audition to one of their songs called Dressed in White.
Which is a good choice, because a lot of soloing in that, or a lot of licks in that, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, after a while, they just said, "Well, take your time, go into the studio, plug up your stuff, and play along with this stuff, and we'll see what you can come up with." And that's what I did. I gave it a few tries and takes, and went out to the studio, and they had a short meeting, I believe, and they said after a while, "Okay, welcome to the band." And at that time, I was 22 years old, and I thought, it's now or never. I got to do this. I really got to do this.
Before this, have you even heard up to this point, before even meeting them? Had you even heard of Mercyful Fate?
Yeah, I did. I heard about them first time, I believe, maybe in 1983. But I can't say I was listening that much to them. I heard a few songs here and there, and I thought it was really scary stuff at that time. I probably heard Come to the Sabbath and a few other songs. But when Mikkey joined the band, he said that was a big change, in music. This was like more up to date and, in his taste, more modern kind of thing too. And that made me interesting in what was going on. So it was like updating me before I joined the band that spring about what they were doing in the studio and such, and also in the rehearsal room. And when I came down and first heard the songs in the studio, I was just blown away, because I thought it was just great stuff. That was very much updated from the more 70s influenced Mercyful Fate to this new kind of 80s style King Diamond, at least in my opinion. So I thought it was just great. And that, together with the spooky stuff that King, and also I've always been a fan of that, the scary stuff, theatrical, dark chords, and that combination, to me, was just very, very cool.
Right. And do you remember meeting King Diamond for the first time, or kind of your first impression? Do you remember anything about that?
Yeah, that was a very good and creative meeting, of course. And at that time, we all spoke English to each other, because I did not understand a word of Danish, even though it's kind of related to the Swedish language, but was very different at that time. But that was a great meeting. And King explained the future plans and all that, and I really got along with all the guys real fast in the band. And that was just a very very, very cool meeting, I believe.
And so are you coming in kind of late to they're already on their way, I'm assuming, recording Fatal Portrait. And so are you coming kind of late into that project, or at what point of the recording are you coming in?
Yeah, when I joined the band, they have been in the studio for about 2 weeks. So drums were pretty much done. Rhythm guitars were done, and I think maybe there was a few bass parts missing when I joined the band. And then, of course, some solos from Michael Denner were missing, and also some pieces where I supposed to play solos too. So I still think we had like 4 or 5 weeks left in the studio when I joined the band. And those last weeks were intended for the solos then, and the missing parts, and also most of the vocals, actually, and the mixing, of course, too. I came in kind of, well, not late, but I recorded all the basics when I joined the band.
And so from there, you finish the album, and then you guys go on tour, and the band is pretty bonded by the end of that. And then are you guys kind of writing songs for Abigail or working on Abigail while you're touring or anything like that?
Yeah, what happened here, I mean, this was the summer of 1985, so it took a while for everything to get finished, of course, with pressing the vinyl. CD wasn't really happening at that time for us. It came out, but took some time. But the first live performance we had with Diamond then was a few days before Christmas 1985 in a very classic place in Copenhagen called the Saga, which is a theater. And we played there just a few days before Christmas. And then it took a couple of months until we did the first live shows again with Diamond, and we did like a small European tour in the spring, and then followed by a US tour in 1986. And between those periods, we wrote songs for the next album, which actually we started to rehearse for the Abigail album in the fall of 1986 after coming back from the US tour.
Now, of course, this album is a magical album. I don't care who you were, even people I think that weren't Mercyful Fate fans, which I was, but even people I knew that weren't knew that the album was special. And then you also have music people like me who geek out on things like just the fact that, I mean, really in retrospect, that you're the mainstay in King Diamond's solo career. You've been with him forever, the longest out of anybody. And then, of course, the greatness of Mikkey Dee and all he became eventually. I mean, I can still remember him showing up in Don Dokken's band and being like, oh shit, that's King Diamond's drummer. But beyond that, you got basically, like you said, 3 members from Mercyful Fate with Michael Denner and then Timi Hansen. Do you look back on that and just think, like, what an incredible moment in time that was?
Yeah, definitely. Everything kind of was put together, after that first US tour, because we really enjoyed it, and we played really good together. And I guess we all got kind of inspired doing that, because when we started rehearse for Abigail later that fall, it was just fun. We had a lot of fun back then. The songs that King came up with, and also me and Michael Denner, that was just fun writing it, fun playing it in the rehearsal room. And we later got into the studio. We just felt that this is really good material we had, and everything kind of fell in place in a good way. It was just a magical moment going into the studio, because, well, the atmosphere on the album, I mean, you can hear that we were hungry, and I think we did something really good. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Often I talk to people and they don't realize that they're working on some kind of monumental masterpiece in the moment. But you guys did realize in that moment that you were working on something special?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't know at that time how appreciated it was going to be by the fans and such. But I mean, after listening, when we were done with everything, the production and everything was really good. We were happy with what we did, with it, with all the extra stuff we put on there with like harmonies, and that was just a very, very creative period.
You recorded that at Soundtrack Studios?
Yes, in Copenhagen. And we started recording in December 1986. It was a very, very cold winter, a lot of snow actually. That just also made it a very cozy feeling. And had a great time with the producer Roberto Falcao, which also was had a very creative mind. He was laying down a lot of the keyboard parts also. Is, in my opinion, a big part of the King Diamond sound.